Hello, and welcome to episode 23 of Creative Collaboration Conversations with Veronica, Bruno, and me, Jillian. Hey, Bruno. Hey, Veronica. How you guys doing?
Hello, hey Jillian. We are good. We have a needy dog today, so we have a guest in
Mm,
our episode.
mm.
How are
We have
you?
we have a Bruno cameo today. Hey, Bruno.
Hey, he's used to being in
Hello.
meetings,
Yeah,
so he will behave. He will start. He
yeah,
will fall asleep shortly. He's like a baby
yeah, yeah. But
after
like
his.
it's like it's so cold today. You have your heater on you with your dog, and I've got my very fancy red blanket to keep me warm because it's like I don't know what is it like -3 out or something today. It's wonderful.
It's cold winter, yes.
Yeah, it's winter, very
And
frosty.
I must say I'm very happy with the with Bruno sitting in my lap because he does keep me warm.
Mm.
And
And he's a little dog. He's not big, so you can still work and things. You can still kind of move around.
I became an expert
Yeah,
how to
yeah,
actually type with the dog in my lap.
yeah. So happy New Year. This is
Happy New
yeah, here
Year!
we are, January 2024. And yeah, ready or not, here we are. Although I don't know about you, I'm like really happy for like yeah, for it to be a new year. I mean, 2023 had lots of really incredible moments, but overall it was a pretty tricky, very trying and a bit exhausting year. Um, some things to build upon, but overall it was a, a little bit of a rough year. So I'm looking forward to a new year, kind of like blank slate kind of thing. So I don't know. How about you? Did you love 2023 or how are you feeling about the new year?
Uh, I must say I have mixed feelings. And actually
Mm,
talking with people and looking around, 2023 was a challenging year for
mm,
everyone and full of
mm,
changes, especially
mm-hmm,
in my life, definitely a lot of changes. So I am grateful for what I achieved and the changes and the people around me that helped me a lot and supported me from all
mm-hmm,
points of view. But in the same time, I'm really happy 2023 ended and I'm ready
mm,
for a new beginning. So this why I'm
mm-hmm,
saying mixed feelings because it wasn't my best year, but it wasn't the worst either.
mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm,
and I do strongly believe in not regretting anything that I'm doing,
mm,
but I am
hmm,
ready. I'm ready for new adventures. That's for sure.
hmm. So then today we'll chat a bit about how how we prepare ourselves for kind of the year ahead, or how do we make sure that we are, um, yeah, our cups are full, right? What are the things that we need to do, or the things that we choose to do to, yeah, to take care of ourselves, and to create that balance, whether it's work life or we want to think of it as self care or what. Um,
I
so it
do
seems
like
like
the
a
word,
good time.
yes,
Yeah.
and I do like the word self-care because you know that saying, happy wife, happy life, right?
I know. I do know a bit about that saying. Yes,
So I
I
think
do.
I think it the same principle applies also when it comes to your professional life.
Mm,
Being that you are an entrepreneur, a founder, and CEO or whatever, if you are in a leading position when it comes to your business, because if you are not happy, if you don't take care of yourself to make sure your energy is where it should be, to be inspired, to be curious, to feel good, um, then how can you motivate the people around you? How can you be
mm,
productive? How can you find the
mm,
best solution for your clients or for your business for that matter? And
mm.
1 second, Bruno decided he had enough of lap time.
All right. So
So dog free
until
now.
next time, Bruno. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, so I think it's maybe it's even more important now at the
Mm,
beginning of the year to discuss about it, excuse me.
mm-hmm,
But I
mm-hmm,
think it's important all year long when do you feel your energy is diminishing, or you feel your lack of inspiration,
Hmm.
or whatever it is, or you just feel down? How do you, what do you do? How do you take the time for yourself to make sure you're up there and
Hmm.
you're
So do you typically consider self-care with your kind of like your either your annual review or your annual planning? Like, is it something that is typically on your radar, or is it something that you just kind of instinctively do over time?
That's a very good question. And you just made me think. I never really include it
Mm,
purposely, but the
mm,
moment I feel I need it, I will just stop.
mm,
Best example, yesterday, I I'm still fighting this cold that doesn't want to leave me. Um,
mm,
and I felt I have no energy. So I actually took the day off. Um, even if my to-do list is crying now. But I felt I will not be productive and I just need
mm,
to sleep extra. So I do it more day to day or week by week. But you just made me think, especially now that we are at the beginning of the year, maybe I
mhm,
should include it, be more proactive and include it in my list. However, what
mm,
I did, uh, what I'm already arranging is, for the first quarter, for example, I already start switching the type of meetings that I have, or doing more, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Bulk or concentrated work.
oh, like
So
batching?
batching, batching, but not
Mm,
only batching, actually, let's change the environment and let's go and be productive for 1 week
mm,
and then be more efficient. I think that's the right word. How can I be
mm,
more efficient and more inspired? And I'm realizing just
mm,
switching the environment is helping a lot. How
mm.
about you? Do you do it more, like, do you do it like me on the fly, or are you planning it?
Yeah, that's actually why that's what prompted me to ask you, because as I was kind of reflecting upon this topic, it occurred to me that I don't think this is something that I've ever been particularly good at being proactive with. Um, yeah. And so this year I'm in a different position and I'm now older and wiser, I think. So now I am, have you ever seen that, like, what would it be called? Like demonstration where people, they take like a big container and they put in like all this sand and all this water and then they try to fit in rocks on top and it doesn't fit.
Mm,
It's like too much stuff. But if you take the rocks and you put them in first, and then you pour in the sand and water, you can fit way more because of the
yeah.
sequencing kind of a thing. So I don't know if you've seen that, and maybe there's a video we can link it. But I did such a masterful job at explaining it, so maybe you don't need to see it.
My
But
imagination
that,
is good. I
yeah,
already
there
see
you
it.
go. Yeah. So that idea is it's what is resonating with me now in realizing that um in a way, it's like continuing to chase the tail, continuing to try to exert and exert and exert. You have to downshift sometimes, or I have to downshift and to kind of recalibrate.
Yeah.
But I think that it's, at least for me and where I'm at in my life and business, I think it's prudent to do this in a very proactive fashion, and not just once, to make it something that's a part of my kind of ongoing check-ins, because it's I don't think self-care is the kind of thing that's a set it and forget it. I don't think it's a checklist thing. I think it's a continual uh, kind of process or evolution, and things change. Our life change, business change, things change. So yeah, so this is a whole new year for me. Look at me, starting off with this as being one of the foundational pieces that I'm trying to be intentional with setting forth to start the year.
I love hearing this, and I'm so excited to see how you're applying it. And I'll make sure to
Yeah,
remind you when you forget, because
yeah,
listening to you, what came to my mind, I think it's also a cultural thing and societal
mm,
thing. So I'm Romanian, you're American. Both our culture are teaching us to go and work hard, work more. The more you work, the
more.
harder you work, the better it will be.
Yep.
However, if we actually take a step back and we look and analyze, we realize we are exhausting ourselves working. And then, sure enough, you're going to make money, you're going to be successful, but you don't have the energy or the time to enjoy it. So what we tend to do is go and spend those money on things that don't bring us any happiness. And then we go and work even more to be able to pay for those things. So it's a very
It's a
vicious
cycle. It's a vicious
Exactly.
cycle. Absolutely. And I would say for the most part, I have ejected myself from a lot of that. But there's still some kind of remnants that have me, I guess, a default setting that's still there. But I have to be kind of vigilant to exercise and try to release the grip of. But I
Yes.
think for the most part, I became, and I think moving to Europe really brought that very clear into my vision, to see that just how kind of pronounced that ethic, that work ethic, even though we call it that work ethic, it's not.
Is
I
that
don't even think
ethic?
it's a. I think
No,
that's a misnomer. Now that I realize, I don't think it's a work ethic. I don't think we should call it that. I think it's
no.
like
And if you
it's
look
a societal lie. Is what I think it
exactly,
is.
I think it's
Yes.
a manipulation tool, actually.
Mm,
And look at the Asian culture,
mm,
for example, how many Korea, for example, how many suicidal cases they have. They are just
mm.
working extremely long hours, even longer than
Yep.
the States,
Right. And then you
not being
come here to the
productive.
Netherlands. No, in the Netherlands, it's like the average person works full-time work week is like what, 36 hours a week or something, 38.
I never
And
got
yeah,
that, to be
uh,
honest.
yeah, it's like amazing. And then I know there's like a 2013 UNICEF study that like the happiest kids in the world are Dutch kids. So those two aren't the same, but I've got to think there's
But
some,
there are also different
correlation
studies
along the way.
that are actually showing if you work 4 days per week,
Yeah.
you are much more efficient than
Hmm.
working full time. And actually makes
Hmm.
sense if you think about your own situation. The moment you know, I want to go on that long weekend, for example, so I need to finalize everything before that. You are able to do that because you're more
Right.
focused. You're not
Yep.
wasting time. The moment you know my efficient or like my productive time is shorter, you're able to do that in a shorter time.
Yeah, it's like the short-term goal cycle, like the 90-day
Yeah.
cycles, because you have like a very short window, you've got to get it done. And like it's like there's no better time. Like we all are at maximum efficiency when we're getting ready for, travel, especially if we're catching an airplane or
Mhm.
train or something like that. Like you don't want to miss it. So you have like a very specific amount of time, and it's amazing how quickly we can go through our priorities and get things done. But the idea is to be able to, how to create that, how to, I don't want to say manufacture, but how to set the table so we have opportunities to be as efficient with our time as we can, I think, because so we're not dragging things on, which takes longer, it's costly, it depletes energy, is, et cetera, et cetera. So
Maybe that
yes, I think those are important.
maybe that we can achieve that by being very clear on what we want.
Yes. Yeah, I actually have that on my list of things. I think as a form, is a kind of component of this bit with self-care, includes being clear about the things that we love, the things that we enjoy, the things that are fulfilling to us, the things that
Bring
give
us
us energy, the
happiness.
things or
Yeah.
people. Yeah, what
Yeah.
brings us
Oh,
happiness.
yes.
It
So
makes,
important, the
yeah,
people. I love the fact that you brought
yeah,
that
it's
up.
like the people, the activities, like all the things, and to then be proactive, like to first do it reminds me a bit in a way kind of your methodology, but to first have just take inventory, or like do a quick brainstorm, a list or whatever of those things. And then the next piece is to make sure they're all, I mean, this is how I operate anyways, is to have them all scheduled, have them all in, because the what's in our calendar is where we spend our time. That's what we show up
Yeah.
for. So having those things built in. So if we love to dance, make sure we find some events that we can plug into our calendar. If we love pottery, if we love writing, if we want to, whatever the things are, if we love yoga or whatever, to make sure they're kind of built into our schedule. It's like those rocks, those foundational pieces. So building in things and people that make us happy. So
And I
yeah, that's
think
an important one.
I love this, and that makes me think maybe it's as important as this is to cut the people and the activities that don't bring us happiness.
Mm,
And it can be
yep.
in your business, excuse me, when it comes to your business, it can be actually externalizing some things that just deploy your energy.
Hmm.
Or maybe hiring more people, or maybe actually saying no to specific activities that don't make sense. And if you look, the 20-80% rule, like
Yeah.
80% of your revenue is coming from 20% of your activity. And this is so true. So
Hmm.
this, and there's a book actually that talks about this. And I can't be, I'm
Hmm.
not sure if it's
Yeah,
Atomic
it's the
Habits,
Pareto. Yeah.
or there's several books actually talking about this. I'm not really sure which
Yeah.
one. Anyways,
Yeah.
um, so that's actually a way to do that is to be very clear on what you are having, like what activities you have, what they are bringing you. We are going in your favorite topic, like having processes in
Yes.
place. So
Yes.
once that you do that, it's to actually see how can I optimize that 20% that brings me so much of my income and also makes me happy, and to diminish or to maybe even delete or take out the rest of the 80% that they just don't bring you anything and deploy you of energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think it's looking at the things that are revenue producing, but also energy producing,
Yeah,
right? It's like, so I
I
think,
love that. Actually,
yeah,
we
it's,
should we should
oh,
say we should start talking about what brings you energy instead of what brings you money, because one will follow
mm,
the other automatically. Maybe we should
yeah,
change the
absolutely.
language we are using in business. Sorry
Yeah,
to
that's a good
interrupt.
point. No, that's a really good point. The things that bring us energy, the things, yeah, absolutely. So, one of the best ways I know how to approach this is what we've already started to allude to, which is scheduling. And so that's one of the things that I am very pretty particular about, and it's been a process over several years of becoming like tighter and tighter with this. And so, for example, I use a calendar system that allows me to create multiple types of calendars. So for some, if it's like a free 15-minute call, or if they're 90-minute working meetings, or if they're new introductory networking meetings, or whatever they are, number one, I can predetermine if I want it to be 15-minute intervals, or do I want to give that person the choice of the duration from 30 minutes to 90 minutes or whatever. So I do that, and then I also will decide how many days a week, which days, or how often I want availability to show for that particular calendar. So if I'm doing free things, I'm much more selective about when those availability windows are. And then I also have days, and it's a little bit tricky with me because of the time zones, and other people may have this as well. It's been a little bit of a kind of a horseshoe in my clean process because of needing to have some, or feeling like I want to have some time available for the East Coast or for the US people, which is even Pacific Coast, of when I'm seeing and meeting those people. So I still try to keep a couple of evenings, but I used to have 5 evenings a week available because of scheduling. And
Wow,
now I've consolidated. I have three, which is on the brink of becoming 2 evenings a week.
still a
And
lot.
then, yeah, it's because I also now I have my non-negotiable time, which is generally from 6 to 8 p.m. Because my kid comes home and we do dinner time and bath time, and talk about our day, and we
Family time.
play. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so I don't do anything from 6 to 8 always. In the summer it bleeds a little bit longer, sometimes 5 or whatnot. Anyway, so the scheduling thing is something that we can control, and I do this, spend the time figuring out what are the types of appointments and with who are the meetings, and like all those things. So then when I'm, talking to people, I can send them the appropriate link for them to choose. And then I've already preset my schedule. And when I'm doing the scheduling, I also, so I think, we were talking before about the energy piece. I think it's so easy for a lot of us to jump into our cockpit of the day, right? Get into our computer and jump right into emails or jump right into the to-do list. And so instead, going back to this BHAG idea, the big, hairy, audacious goal from our friend Jim Collins, right? To start the day working on the things that give us the most energy, the things that are really our big projects, our big ideas, the big thing that we're working on. I think that can also be really, that can generate more and more energy that can help us to be more productive and all the other things. So I think that is a part of self-care, because if we put off the things that we really want to do and keep putting it off and putting it off, there is a drain, and it's I don't think it's ideal, and at best, and at worst it might not be healthy for the long term.
I agree. And actually, several things popped into my mind while you were talking. And the first one is, to whom am I giving my time? The time is the only thing that we just can't get back. It's limited.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And the moment it's gone, it's gone. And you mentioned, for example, the calendar and how you do that. I must say, I'm not as organized as you are. And I do tend to give a lot of my free time for free. And definitely there are some projects that are hard projects and they worth it. But maybe we should actually, I'm thinking I should have a system or a procedure. How do I define if that particular free project gives me energy or not? Should I take it or not? Because I must admit, I'm one of those people that will just gonna jump and try to help everyone, and it's not healthy.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah.
And I end up being exhausted and definitely not even earning money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
long term is not good.
Yeah. So even if we look at like just, my other favorite topic is math, right? So if we just look at with our business and our own, like, how many hours per week do we want to work, or how many hours per day, or whatever metric you want to use, and then think about how are you going to allocate that time. So I think we have mentioned this in previous episodes. I've been working quite a bit on this and looking at the categories, the things that we have to get done, or things that need to get done, and whether or not I need to do them or not, it's a secondary point, but things that need to get done, because even if I'm not getting them done, I still need to at least have it, allocate that time to have a look at it, or to train on it, or to review it or something. But in any case, so making sure, looking at how much of our time, so if you have 100% of our available time, and whether that's 30 hours a week or 60 hours a week, and hopefully it's not 60. So you have 100% of your time. What percentage of that is on, new business development, or is on your existing client work, or is on, like, what are the pieces of your pie chart? What are those? And then see.
Don't forget, you also have administration, inspiration, your self-care time that we need to include.
Yeah. So I have learning on mine. I have content creation. I have administration. I have administrative. I've got a bunch of categories. But therefore, then it's like, okay, so how many hours a week do I have available based on what my plan is, and what is, helps me to feel good about the work I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and then also to make sure that there's a proper amount of time allocated towards new business development, right? To be able to meet the objectives of the business. So therefore, you might do the math and realize, oh, there's only 1 hour a week, or there's only 2 hours a month, or whatever. And then that's what's available. So if you go through that exercise, I think it also, which can feel like, oh, how was that self-care? But to me, again, it is, because how we set up our days and how we set up our schedules can really help us to put us in a position of feeling better, for lack of a better word, better, as opposed to feeling like we're always chasing.
Maybe. Actually, I love this fact, because when we discussed and you brought up the topic of self-care, what came to my mind was actually taking time for me, going dancing, or seeing my friends, listening to music, like going to massage, or things that actually give me peace or help me calm down and find myself. But it's much more than that. The fact that I know how to eliminate what is negative, or to how am I spending my time? How am I allocating it? That will bring the same result. And then I know, why do I need so much relaxation time, or actually I have more
Yeah.
time for that,
Yeah.
or to do things that make me happy and give me energy instead of taking energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, the energy piece is a really big one. The self-care things that we had mentioned before we were chatting is like, is getting, how much sleep do we need? Or do we need massage? Or do we do yoga? Or do we meditate? Or
Yeah.
do we go swimming? Or do we paint? Or like,
Kickboxing or
what are the
whatever.
things?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What are the things that are good for our kind of us, what are good for us physically and mentally and emotionally, et cetera? I think those are really important. And I think related to that, one of the things for me, so I don't know if you have any of these, and maybe you just kind of mentioned it a few minutes ago, but for me, because I know myself quite well, I have a tendency to overwork,
Yeah.
and that can become very unhealthy, and that's not good self-care. So for
I
me
used
to
to be like
be,
that actually. But
yeah,
then
yeah,
I ran out of energy. So last year,
mm,
a big
yeah.
changes. I honestly didn't had enough energy to give to overwork. So
Mm.
I was surviving
That's
it.
one way. That's one way to take care of that.
The
Yes.
universe is always helping, right? The
Yes,
universe is
true.
always
That is true.
providing what we need.
That's true. That's definitely true. But yeah, and I think another quick thing I'll tuck in here that we've also talked about here and there, but I feel like it's relevant. Yeah, I feel like if I were writing an outline for this article, this would be at least a paragraph. Would be on it's like, how do we celebrate or acknowledge our wins, like the things that
Oh, that's
are
a
like,
very
what
good
are we
point.
really working towards? It's like, sure, we all like have an annual goal or all these like big term, but like short term things that we want to accomplish or we want to do. um so I think those are good to continuously, have those, and be working towards those, and to acknowledge them, and to, yeah, celebrate the wins when they happen.
I love this, and it makes perfect sense. And we kept on discussing about this. Just get the big goal, split it in smaller pieces, and also celebrate. But
Hmm.
I must admit, I'm guilty of not really properly doing that, even if I'm saying it. So I will admit, I do
Hmm.
forget. Or I think we discussed this in another episode, that we do achieve the goal, but we are so busy moving towards the next one that we forget to actually.
Next. Yep.
Exactly, we forget to stop, and we did that. We should be proud of that. We should actually get the
Hmm.
energy from making it, and achieving what we set up, because
Hmm.
we did it with a purpose, with a goal. We wanted something out of it, but we are
Hmm.
so busy moving to the next one. And I'm wondering, is this because, again, what we discussed, the culture and the society, that we
Yeah.
need to be busy all the time, that we
Right.
forget to do that?
Right.
And yeah, and then um you hear about, like, a very, very dear friend of mine, she has cancer again, and you hear
Mm.
about someone dying, and makes you stop, and what is important actually? Why am
Hmm.
I running all the time? So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe we should start the year thinking what is important, and
Yeah.
and
I think so.
make space,
I
more space for that.
And so I would say make space for that, including being honest with ourselves,
Mm,
because I think it's very easy to get into your business or to have your business and just keep on keeping on, or like keeping up with the Joneses, or keep
yeah,
this idea of what you had in mind for your business that could be arbitrary, or could be just this like old idea or old objectives that don't match anymore. They are not congruent with who you are, what your life is about, what you want it to be, what you want your business to be about. Like, I think that piece about being honest with ourselves, like who we are, how we want to work, all of that, what is working, what is not, who is contributing to our life versus depleting our life,
yeah.
I think that being honest with ourselves in accepting ourselves is a really huge piece of self-care. And it's like, for example,
I love that.
one, Yeah, one that I'm currently grappling with is I used to think that if my business was not doing 7 figures annually, that I was not successful. That was, I now kind of understand to be arbitrary, really.
Mm-hmm.
But that was something that I held as truth for many years. And so that's how I saw my business. That's how so therefore, because I didn't achieve that 7 figure, annual revenue, um, yeah, I
And you're
felt that
making
what I was
yourself
doing was not.
miserable.
That's it. Just constantly. So constantly feeling like I'm not measuring up, not measuring up. So then something as seemingly simple as like challenging that or looking at, is that my value? Is that what I really aspire to do? Is that the most important thing? And etc. And so now I'm realizing not only is that not the most important thing, but it has made me think about, um, and perhaps this is a privileged statement, but to look at how how much or what role does income or revenue play in my life, like how much, basically how much money do I need,
Yes.
and like, do I need to be like maximizing every single thing? Do I need to be, um or can I just
How much
have a
is enough?
healthy income? Yeah, what is enough? And I do know, like, I hope I don't offend anybody listening. And this is, if you're seeing me on video, you'll see that I'm winking. If you're not, I'm winking right now. But I know the US market, there is no such thing. Enough is never enough. And that's why there's credit cards. Enough is never enough. But I'm not there now, and my mind is not there. So it's created new space for me to you know, revisit that. So that's a piece for me, is looking at, what are the things that I value, what's important, being honest with myself, and then accepting the, yeah, the yeah, accepting ourselves, I guess I'll just say.
Yeah. I I never thought about it like that. So thank you for presenting. But the
Mm,
honesty is very important, and just accepting it. And reflection. Am
mm,
I where I need to be? And if not, what do I need to change to be there? And it's
yeah,
very related to honesty. I think
yeah,
honesty,
absolutely.
reflection, and action will bring us
Hmm.
that self-care. And it's
Yeah,
very,
absolutely.
to our listeners, honestly, we never know where our discussions are going to end up. So we
Yeah,
know the topic, we know a little bit of like, these are the main points, but we never know where we end up with the discussion. And
yeah,
yeah, I wasn't expecting us to end up at this point when
yeah, me either.
we set up the self-care discussion.
I
But
know,
definitely
I know.
something very important.
Yeah. So I feel like for me to wrap up, this one of my favorite quotes just came to mind, and I feel like it's kind of, hopefully for others it'll feel the same. But anyway, I feel like it kind of puts a bow on what we've been talking about, at least the second part of our conversation a bit. And the quote is, "Just because I can doesn't mean I should."
Oh, I love this.
Right?
I think I should print it. I should put it
Yep.
here somewhere and see it,
Just
because we
because I
can do
can
a
doesn't
lot.
mean I should.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
are very capable. And I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about us as humans in general. We can do
Yep.
so much, much more than we think. But we forget
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
have
So
free
that is
will.
that's my like mantra, in a good, yeah, just a good reflection point, or even a meditation, or however you want to think about it. But just because I can, it's like, oh, I can do this new thing, but should I be doing this? Does this fit in with my objective overall? Does it feed
Yeah.
me energy? Does it produce revenue? Does it bring something to me? Do I have the time to allocate to it? All of these things. So it adds some more points to the decision tree. So we're maybe to help us pause before jumping into something. And maybe we're still going to do it, just maybe not now, or maybe not tomorrow. Maybe we revisit it. So I
Yeah.
actually will take a lot of these things and put it on my calendar 30 days out to revisit. And then when it comes up again, revisit. And now I'll be like, not so much. Or yeah, that's still
Yeah.
good. Or let me kick it ahead 30 days again. So anyway, I'm going to
Yeah.
stop talking, because that's the idea. Just
I
because I
like that.
can doesn't mean I should. Yeah.
That
So
makes me think about boundaries again. And I think,
Mm.
set up clear boundaries, and that will help everything actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
think
it.
that's a
So
very beautiful way to end it. And actually, I'm very curious to hear how our listeners take care of themselves, or how do they perceive self-care. So share with us in the comments, or send us an email. How do you take care of yourself? How do you see self-care? Do you have a
yeah.
different vision? And I'm pretty sure you do. So I'm very curious to learn about it.
Yes. Yes.
That being said, I think that's a wrap up for episode 23.
Perfect. All right. Until next time. Happy New
Till next
Year.
time. Happy New Year. Let's make 2024 epic.
Yes.